Picture this. You are walking, not exercising, not training, just walking. Maybe from your house to your car, maybe through a grocery store aisle, maybe around your block after dinner. Now, pause for a moment and ask an uncomfortable question. If time could freeze and a cardiologist could look inside your chest right now, would your heart look calm or quietly strained? Most people believe walking is too gentle to matter, that it is movement, not medicine. Something nice, but optional. Something that feels good, but changes very little. Yet, cardiologists see something very different. Because inside your body, even a simple walk sends a signal and your cardiovascular system listens. We tend to think of the heart as the main character, the engine, the hero organ that either works or fails. But in cardiovascular medicine, the heart is only half the story. The other half is the system it serves, your blood vessels. If your heart is a pump, your arteries and veins are the highways. And a pump can be perfectly healthy while the highways quietly stiffen, narrow, or lose responsiveness. When that happens, the pump has to work harder just to maintain normal life. The problem is, this process is silent. Blood vessels do not send warning messages. They do not hurt when they become less flexible. They adapt quietly, until one day the strain shows up as high blood pressure, shortness of breath, or cardiovascular disease. Walking enters the story not as a workout, but as a maintenance signal. The moment you stand up and start walking, your muscles request a little more oxygen, not dramatically, just enough to matter. Your nervous system responds by adjusting your heart rate and the strength of each beat. This is not stress, it is responsiveness. At the same time, blood flow through your arteries increases. That flow creates a gentle friction along the inner lining of your blood vessels, a layer called the endothelium. This lining is not passive, it senses movement. When blood flows more smoothly, the endothelium releases chemical signals that tell the vessels to relax. One of the most important of these signals is nitric oxide, a molecule that helps arteries widen and remain flexible. You do not feel this happening, but it changes how easily blood moves through your body. This is why walking can influence blood pressure without feeling intense. Many people assume that raising heart rate automatically increases strain, but in the context of walking, the opposite often happens over time. As blood vessels become more responsive and less stiff, the pressure your heart has to push against decreases. Imagine widening the lanes on a highway. The same number of cars move more smoothly with less congestion. In study after study, regular walking is associated with modest but meaningful reductions in both systolic and diastolic blood pressure. Not because the heart works harder, but because it does not have to. Your breathing also shifts during a steady walk. Inhalations deepen, exhalations lengthen. This breathing rhythm influences your nervous system, nudging it toward a calmer, more regulated state. This is not psychological. It is physiological. Your internal messaging begins to change. One walk helps, but it is repetition that changes the system. When walking becomes something you return to, day after day, or week after week, the heart begins to adapt in measurable ways. Over time, each beat pushes more blood forward, which means the heart does not need to beat as often to meet the same demands. Resting heart rate often declines. Recovery after effort becomes faster. Small stresses no longer trigger urgency. Cardiologists pay close attention to this kind of efficiency. A lower resting heart rate is not about athletic pride or fitness vanity. It is a signal that the cardiovascular system has reserve, that it can handle daily life without operating near its limits. Modern research using wearable devices has also revealed something subtle but important. How you walk matters, not just how far. A slightly brisker pace, not breathless, just intentional, trains the system to tolerate demand with more stability. It is less like pushing an engine harder and more like upgrading the wiring so peak load no longer causes strain. Think of your arteries as living elastic structures, not rigid pipes. In youth and with regular movement, they stretch easily and recoil smoothly with each heartbeat. With aging and long periods of inactivity, that elasticity fades. The walls stiffen. Signals become duller. Blood flow meets more resistance than it should. Walking reintroduces a pattern your arteries are designed to respond to. Each walk creates gentle, repeated increases in blood flow that stretch the vessel walls from the inside. This is not strain. It is training. Over time, the inner lining of the arteries, the endothelium, becomes better at sensing flow and responding appropriately, relaxing when demand rises, tightening when stability is needed, maintaining smooth, controlled circulation instead of turbulence. As this responsiveness improves, the heart no longer has to compensate by pushing harder. Pressure requirements ease. This is why walking appears in nearly every blood pressure guideline, not as a cure, but as ongoing system maintenance that keeps the entire cardiovascular network working together instead of against itself. After a meal, your body enters a short but important metabolic window. Blood sugar rises. Insulin signaling increases. Blood flow shifts toward the digestive system as nutrients move from the gut into circulation. During this period, the vascular system is working harder than it appears, managing glucose, lipids, and changes in blood flow distribution. Light movement, even 10 to 15 minutes of walking, changes how this window unfolds. Muscle contractions act like additional glucose sinks, pulling sugar out of the bloodstream and reducing sharp spikes. At the same time, blood flow through the arteries increases just enough to stimulate endothelial signaling, helping vessels remain responsive rather than strained. This effect has been observed most clearly in people with insulin resistance or type 2 diabetes, but the underlying physiology applies to everyone. Think of a meal as a delivery arriving at a warehouse. Walking is the staff showing up on time to sort and move inventory. Without movement, packages pile up. With movement, the system stays organized. Repeated spikes, day after day, quietly wear on blood vessels. Walking does not erase the load, but it softens its impact. For decades, exercise culture treated intensity as the gatekeeper. If it did not feel hard, it did not count. Walking was framed as optional, almost decorative. Wearable data quietly dismantled that belief by showing what actually happens in real human bodies over time. In 2023, a large meta-analysis published in the Journal of the American College of Cardiology followed more than 111,000 people. The researchers saw meaningful reductions in cardiovascular events beginning at roughly 2,700 steps per day, compared with 2,000. The curve did not rise linearly. The strongest drop in cardiovascular disease risk clustered around 7,000 steps per day, with additional gains tapering beyond that point. Another study that same year found something equally important. Even people who reached about 8,000 steps only 1 or 2 days per week had substantially lower mortality risk than those who did none at all. This matters because real life is not optimized, and the heart does not demand perfection. It adapts to what you repeat. Walking is often described as one of the safest forms of physical activity, and for most people, it is. But safety in medicine is never about absolutes. It is about context. Bodies are different, histories are different, signals matter. For individuals who experience chest pain or pressure with exertion, unexplained fainting, severe shortness of breath, uncontrolled blood pressure, or who already live with known heart disease, even gentle changes deserve guidance. Consulting a clinician is not a sign of weakness. It is a way of making movement safer, not avoiding it. The goal is not heroics or sudden transformation. The cardiovascular system responds best to signals it can absorb without alarm. Consistency matters more than intensity. A pace your body tolerates. A routine you can return to. Progress that builds trust rather than fear. That is how walking becomes protective instead of risky, and sustainable instead of temporary. At the beginning, we asked a quiet question. If we could look inside your chest, would your heart look calm or quietly strained? Now you know, the answer is not a moment, it is a relationship. Walking changes that relationship. Not through punishment, not through fear, through practice. Your body is not fragile. Your heart is not waiting to fail. It is responding to the signals you send every day through movement, rest, stress, sleep, and routine. Walking is one of the gentlest signals that still creates real internal change. If this video shifted how you think about walking, consider liking it so more people see calm science instead of hype. Subscribe if you want more evidence-based explanations without fear or exaggeration. And in the comments, share your experience, your routine, your challenges, even your family's story. Someone reading it may need that reminder today.